Hello everyone, For Brick's Sake here. Today I'm going to be showing you my brand new LEGO Ideas submission for a Disney movie that I think is long overdue for its own official, beautifully detailed LEGO set. And that is of course the 1997 Walt Disney classic animation Hercules. I watch this film at least once a year. I feel like it's a Disney classic that is often forgotten, because it came out in a period where we had like a decade of the best animated films from Disney ever. Like Mulan, Pocahontas, Beauty and the Beast, obviously, Lion King, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, which is technically 1989, but you know, we kind of count it in this golden era of incredibly animated Disney movies. If you look at Disney's whole catalogue, there are very few animated films with a male lead and it's also a musical. We do have movies with male leads, but often they're not musicals. So I think it's high time we have it as a Lego set. Now, up to this date, the only kind of Lego set we have is we got Hades and Hercules as minifigs in the Disney Collector minifig series. So when I thought about what the set should be, I think it should incorporate the two most iconic locations in the film, which is of course Hades' underworld and of course Mount Olympus. And I think these two really go nicely together because you've got the dark, broody, underworld contrasting directly with the light and bright Mount Olympus. So visually, I think it would look great on your shelf as a set. Obviously, I've used the clouds to kind of hide where the join is between the underworld and Mount Olympus. They were one of the most important features I knew I had to nail because obviously in the animated film, they're very stylized and it's meant to like replicate some of the details you'll see in like Greek pottery and stuff. Had this kind of curved style to it, which I think I've achieved. I'm quite happy with it. My original thought was I was going to have a lot more of that dark orange they can see a little bit underneath just to like give it the cloud shadows and like give it a bit more depth. But when I built it, I had a piece count in mind that I wanted to stick to and I started to get very close to it. So that was kind of nixed. Obviously above these light bright clouds, we're gonna have Mount Olympus, at least the gates to it. So I just used the standard gold gate piece and just put a clip piece to attach the shield to it. And obviously we've got the Greek columns. They are on a lean, that was a choice. Definitely if this was made in set, you can make them straight, but I think it's just a more dynamic build if they're on a lean and the gates are open on a lean. One thing I would wanna do in this model that I haven't done here is I wanted to hide 5 micro figures in the dark red to represent the muses that sing all through the movie. When I physically build this, I'll probably hide them at the back of the stairs as a little Easter egg. But yeah, that's the heavens. Actually, I did have plans of doing like a micro build of the rest of Mount Olympus. But again, the piece count, I realized it was just gonna blow it out if I tried to do something like that. Also, I've never done micro scale, so I didn't want it to look stupid to everything else. So I've just left it. But it's definitely in the back of my mind that could be something we bring in later. Moving down to the middle of the mock, which is obviously the skull head that is Hades' headquarters, meeting room, whatever you want to call it. The most crucial part of that is obviously the droopy eyes. They're just held in with some Technic pieces on a lean, and then below it is just some snot facing out and plates so that we could just get that little face in it. Again, this model was rushed, and I'll talk about why later, but I was rushing to get this model done, so I haven't done the interior of Hades' layer, which I think would be quite simple. You just need to put like a round table in the middle and probably a printed or a sticker for that map that he has, and then just some rock work around the edge. So I don't think it would add too many pieces, but I was in a rush, and so this model currently doesn't have an inside, but I want to physically build this at some point, so that's something I can easily add later. And I don't think it's going to affect whether you vote for the set or not if it's got an inside. I would also like to put some more detail on the wings of the skull. Currently I'm just using slopes, which it does work. I think you could easily add more texture and detail to it. So that's something I might look at when I physically build it. Moving down to the column that is supporting the head. It is the exact same technique I used to make my ale barrels in Gaston's Tavern. It's that 4x4 round piece that's got the Technic holes on the side, and then just sandwiching it with a 1x2 jumper and a 1x1 stud so that they're alternating and just going up. And then I've kind of repeated the pattern around the outside. That's something you could change and it be a bit more random. And then finally we have the base, which is meant to represent obviously the River of Souls or whatever it's called. So I didn't realize till I rendered it that I've picked the wrong green to go underneath the translucent green tile. So I put dark green plates, and because of that, it looks so dark. Because obviously I wanted it to feel like the light pieces are the souls that are drifting through, and I just went too dark. I think I maybe put too many souls drifting, so maybe I might reduce that a little bit because it might not be as clear what it is. But yeah, I think that works. And yes, look, the boat isn't accurate to the movie, but that's something easily we can change. Particularly if I build it myself, I'll probably put the detail in to make the boat accurate, but for the purpose of Lego ideas, that works. So yeah, that's the general model. Now let's talk about the minifigures. Like I said at the start, I had an idea of a price and a piece count that I think this should be basically what I would pay for it if I was to get it from the store. And I was modeling it after the Magic of Disney set, which was also a Lego Ideas set. In that set, it's about $170 Australian for about 1,100 pieces, 4 minifigures. At the time it came out, all were exclusive. We've now kind of had a repeat of Belle and Lilo, but at the time they were 4 exclusive minifigs and 3 molded characters. Again, 2 of them, Flounder and Sebastian, we already had. Simba was brand new, and they may be using Simba again. That's kind of the benchmark of what I was looking at, and I think that's an appropriate amount of minifigs and molded characters to expect. One compromise I'm happy to make from the start is that I would be okay if they just reused the CMF series Hercules. He's perfect. I wouldn't change anything. They really went out with the detail in him, so I'd be okay if we just reused him. Similar, I'd be okay if we reused the Hades, but what I think would be cool is if they just recolored him red. So we got an angry Hades, and then you could just buy the CMF blue one if you wanted him. Also, I think it would just pop down there because you got the grey behind him, so a red Hades would be really fun. But those are the 2 non-negotiables. My wish list would be, I would love to have Meg, obviously. She's our girl. She would make sense in both settings. And then if we were to stick to the Magic of Disney ratio, if we were to pick one more, I think I would pick Zeus. Like, there is arguments you could ask for Phil, his trainer, but if it's the underworld and MT Olympus, I think it makes more sense that it's Zeus. And that's just a fun character to get. If we're willing to pay a bit more, then obviously I would love to have Hera and Phil, but I'm just trying to be a bit realistic. If we're only getting 4 minifigs, I think those are the ones we would get. And then if we were to get molded characters, obviously I would love a molded Pain and Panic. I think that would just complete the underworld and make it quite balanced in terms of amount of characters. Also on that wish list, if we got Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, and you had him down the bottom, all it would be a recoloring of the 3-headed dog Fluffy we got from the Harry Potter set a few years ago, and just making it maybe dark blue or black. It's a mold we already have, so they're not going to make it. It's just a different color. And then obviously the last thing is we want Pegasus, which would just be the white body of the horse probably, and if they just recolored some wings blue, that would be enough to sell that it's Pegasus. It would even be cooler if it was the baby Pegasus, if we got a molded piece. That's kind of my wish list. I would accept any of the above. This model's about 1,200 pieces. There are definitely places where I used more bricks than I needed to, so you could cut back and bring it back to that 1,100 that Magic of Disney is. Particularly the clouds, you could definitely shrink them if you needed to, or even the pillars. There is a thinner way you can build them, so there's definitely lots of options to bring the piece count down, particularly if the sacrifice is to have an interior of the head, which there is room for. I just didn't do it yet. And look, I'd love to put a lot of Easter eggs. Like, it'd be great if you could get the little sippy cup of the Air Herc drink, that the Pain and Panic drink. I think that'd be great. Or even if they did like a printed plate or even pot that referenced the Titans, because obviously when we get the intro, it's all in that pottery style, which is so original to the movie. So why did I make this as a Lego set now, and why was I rushing? Historically, we've seen with IP sets and Lego ideas, if it's not a current IP, in terms of like it's come out in the last 5 years or whatever, typically they've only picked franchises and Disney franchises if there is a new something coming out. For example, Hocus Pocus, we got that set because Hocus Pocus 2 was coming out. We got Home Alone because the Home Alone series was coming out. Generally, they line up and tie in with something new of that franchise coming out that we might not know about yet. But thankfully, we do know that in 2027, there will be a live action Hercules coming out. 2027 also is the 30th anniversary of Hercules, so that works in multiple layers for that. Another benefit is that in England, in the West End, they've got a new production of Hercules making the rounds, which is very similar to what we saw with Frozen and Aladdin and Lion King. So that's just going to be a global musical again. So there's a lot of benefits to it, but because of that 2027 deadline, if this project doesn't hit 10K in this next wave, and we've got about 3 months, I don't think it will be selected. We would have missed the window. We've got to get it in the next 3 months, otherwise it won't be accepted. But yeah, that's why I kind of really rushed this design to get it out there, because I just knew I needed every day I could for this to be able to hit 10K in time. So if you like the design, I'd love it if you went over to Lego Ideas and gave us a vote and supported us, and share this video around so that other people can see it and possibly vote for it too. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe to the channel so you catch all the updates of all my stuff I'm doing. Don't know if you noticed, I really like Disney, so I'm doing a lot of Disney mocks. So if you also like Disney, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss those ones. Leave a comment of what you would like to see in this set. If there's an Easter egg from the movie you would also like to see included, or even like what your priority for characters would be. Obviously I want all of them, but we know Lego sets are getting more expensive for less pieces, so just realistically, what would you pick if you had to pick 4 minifigures? Thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.